think the first thing that people should know is that the JHS Twin 12 follows in kind of the this thing that JHS has been doing. They started with the Super Bolt. Just the Super Bolt was based on the Supro Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
Kind of going for that sound on the pedal.
An amp. It's an amplifier.
It's an amplifier. Classic amplifier. The JHS Twin 12 is based on the 1963 Silvertone Model 1484, which was originally a student model amplifier, but has become a legendary, hard-to-find classic tube amp.
Right.
So that's kind of what they're going for here.
For a student model, that's a massive amp.
Yeah, well, but that was back in the day, Silvertone, man.
Yeah.
So this was kind of a classic amp. Just to get it out of the way,
Here
Jack
it comes.
White.
He said it.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Jack White.
Say it again and it'll come true.
Jack White.
Oh no, it's like Beetlejuice.
He's here.
He's appeared in the room. Jack, what are you? Oh, he's leaving and he looks really frustrated. I think this happens to him a lot.
Yeah. So there's a lot of features in this. I got to mess around with it as bass. Apparently you can.
And I got to play around with it on my guitar stuff.
Apparently you can take this up to 18 volts. I'm like reading about things that I just didn't know.
I don't remember if I ran it at 18.
It says negative power up to a powerful 18 volts.
Oh, you know, I did hook it up to the 18.
So I don't have that option with my setup right now. But that might be something cool to mess around with at some point. And I didn't know some of the other stuff that I'm not going to really talk about. But anyway, the pedal itself. So I tried a different thing. Well, you played it with the guitar first. We should talk about that first.
Okay. Well, I thought it was a lot of fun. It's it's basically an amp sound in a box. It gives you like a really amp-like kind of breakup and kind of voicing. It really changes your flavor. So if you want to get that kind of cardboardy sounding White Stripes sound, or your kind of like your Foo Fighter sounds, I think Dave Grohl uses the Silvertone amp as well, or
possibly
any of those other kind of like classic uses of the amplifier. But you want to have it be convenient and on your board so you can flick it on and off at any time. I think it was great.
Yeah,
you've had it for a while. I don't have fresh memories in my head.
JHS mentions Beck, Death Cab for Cutie, the White Stripes / Jack White, Vampire Weekend, and Coldplay as bands that have brought kind of the 1484 love back. I tried to use it initially on bass as a preamp, running it directly into the effects loop of a bass amp. It kind of works for that, but I just didn't feel like the pedal itself maybe had enough gain. Like I would turn the volume all the way up on that, and I still didn't really feel like I had enough power.
Interesting. Because to me, it seemed like it had just a ton of headroom.
Well, that's the thing is when I switch it up and put it into like the input of an amp,
right?
Tons of headroom.
Gotcha.
I actually, I actually used it later on in that same day as with guitar, whereas with bass I had it like really like turned up a lot, trying to run it through the effects loop. When I was using it direct into the front end of an amp, I was running it like 9 o'clock,
right?
Maybe 10 o'clock. So
I don't care what time it was.
Yeah. So as like a actual preamp, like something to like bail you out on a gig if you are stuck with some janky amp that you don't want to run to the front end on.
Sure.
I didn't think it was completely suitable. I could have made it work with the bass amp that we have at church because it's 300 watts, so there's just a ton of power there. And there's a master volume, and there's actually a boost that is after the effects loop on that amp that could have made it work. But I just wasn't super excited about that setup. I ended up running into the front end where I have my amp set up as like a clean palette, and then so if I want clean like your typical kind of bass sound, I just run it as it is. If I want like just a really light, natural amp like sounding overdrive, I just hit that thing on. And what it actually really reminded me of is the acoustic.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because with the acoustic 150, the way I would run that thing on bass is I would turn it up into where now it's solid. That amp is solid state. The 1484 is a tube amp, but I would run the acoustic up to where even like the solid state components were starting to clip out a little.
They have a similar voicing.
Yeah,
like they have that kind of MIDI, like I don't mean MIDI like Roland MIDI. I mean like mid. Kind of cardboardy growl to it, you know?
Sure. It sounded really great for that. I really liked it. Now, later that day, I did something that I was along the same lines, but I did it with guitar. And I pretty much, with the exception of like one song, I just ran the Twin 12 into a old PV keyboard amp. It was like this old 60 watt keyboard amp. Just set the EQ straight up, did all of my EQing from the pedal, dialed in just a little bit of dirt to get some volume and everything, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
Awesome, like low gain overdrive sounds. I didn't really get a chance to mess around with like setting it up for, I've heard a lot of guys say that it works great as like a fuzzy, like you turn the gain up and you get some fuzzy tones. I just didn't really have an opportunity to test those things out, but just in the functions that I was using it as like kind of a low gain preamp style pedal, I thought it worked really well.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I used it when I was using it, if I can remember clearly enough, I basically for 2 weeks in a row playing at church used it as an always on pedal. Like I run into a PV Classic 50, but I run into the clean channel. I don't do any dirt on there, and I just kind of run the EQ as flat as I can get it. And then I use my board for different kind of overdrive voicings.
Yeah.
So I left the Twin 12 on at the end of my drive chain. So I was treating it like my amp, and then treating everything after it like it was in the effects loop. And then I would stack different gains or fuzzes in front of it to kind of do my different flavors sort of thing. And it really does, for being actually a pedal, it really does take other pedals like it's acting like an amplifier.
Yeah.
Like if I hit it with a fuzz, it would act like a fuzz hitting an amplifier. If I hit it with, like a tube screamer type overdrive, it would act like a tube screamer hitting an amplifier on the edge of breakup. Like it really kind of hits those notes and hits those functions. I was pretty impressed with it. If it's not your flavor, then you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
But if you dig its flavor at all, you're going to be stoked on it. That's just how it goes. It's a very specific sound. It's a very specific use sort of thing. It's not an all-in-one pedal like, some other thing that's got a million knobs on it. It's got 4 knobs, volume, gain, low, and high, right?
Volume, gain, bass, and treble.
Bass and treble, that's what I meant. Low and high, bass and treble, whatever. So it's really basic controls. It's really dialed in to some very specific sounds. You could go light drive on it, which is basically what I did. I think I had it around like 30% or something like that for the most part. Or you could use it as your crazy over-the-top lead tone if you want.
Yeah.
Like really push that gain and get some fuzzies out of it. I just think it's a really great pedal if that's the flavor that you're going for.
Yeah, I liked it.
How much are those pedals?
$199.
$199. So, it's shop around if you want, or go buy one new. If you're looking for that flavor, then it's going to be a lot cheaper than getting the real thing.
Well, it is, and it's one of those things
and
where
who else is making one of those right now?
Right.
And
it's one of those things where
who else is making a Silvertone in a box?
Right. And even if you're just looking at it as an overdrive, like I was kind of just thinking about this, is like you can go get like an old green box tube screamer.
Sure.
TS9 for like $80 or whatever. That's fine. If you're worried about quality components, you can look at like the hand wired tube screamer, and I think that thing's like $180.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So basically, like once you get into like that kind of territory, you're $199 at first. Like that, I was like, oh, this seems kind of expensive.
For
but
guys
it's
like
not.
us that live in the used market, it's like, whoa, $199, that's a bunch of money. But then you take into consideration that Boss is trying to push their pedals above 150 these days.
Yeah,
Like their new stuff.
I
And
think
it's
the
like,
Wazacraft stuff is all close to 150.
Yeah.
Which is like what like Boss on steroids or Boss gone boutique.
Right.
So to say.
Like there's not a lot of pedals that are sub 100 anymore. They're all kind of in the
Yeah.
120, 140 kind of range for the big commercial high numbers produced stuff.
DS1, man, $40.
I know, right? If the DS1 is ever over $50, the universe is going to collapse.
Oh man. What?
Steve, you
Everything's-
laughed really hard at that.
Everything's funny to you tonight.
To me?
Yeah.
I laugh at everything. You know
but
that.
you've had these
Your reaction is what I was laughing at.
You've been like pausing.
I'm
like-
not the one who paused right there, man.
No, I laughed and then you just didn't react and then you started laughing.
Do we need couples therapy over this?
Anyway, the JHS Twin 12. Let's wrap this up. Just check it out. We will be making some videos soon. As soon as I get this back to Ryan.
Yeah, you didn't bring it today, so.
Shoot me a message or something.